Hey adventurers! Today I'm going to be reviewing Fawkes by Nadine. This is a historical fantasy novel and it's YA. The age range is YA. Jumping right in with characters. I have a lot of mixed feelings about characters specifically in this book. The main character, Thomas, his personality has substance, but I didn't find him to be particularly relatable. His backstory plays a significant part in the plot, and his life is actually very relevant to the plot. Also, we see a lot of large-scale character development with Thomas, and the overall character arc of him has a lot of development, but we don't see as many of the small developmental goals in this story leading up to that grand character arc. I would almost like to see a few subplot character arcs, if that makes sense. Some small goals that he reaches on his way to the large goal. And I think that would have helped me relate to this character a little bit more. The plot of this book was very engaging and well-driven consistently throughout the course of the book. The stakes were relevant and present to the characters. They were emotionally driven but also logically driven. And the plot was directly involved with the characters. Well, they involved themselves a little bit, but their motivations for doing so were justifiable. So it worked out just fine. The plot was really well done. So one thing I wasn't expecting to see in Fawkes as much was themes. The deepness of the main theme in particular absolutely blew me away. I wasn't expecting the theme so relevant to real life and was pleasantly surprised. That being said, books tend to have one main theme, one strong theme oftentimes, and then they'll have a lot of smaller themes to go along with that, and I didn't see as many of the smaller themes. And I think that's part of my lack of emotional connection with Thomas, the main character, not being able to relate to him and see what he needed and see the themes that he was working through. There were some small ones, but they all seemed to tie into the big theme, which was really well done. Like I said, I love the big theme, and that's actually what kept me reading closer to the end of the book. I'm going to come back to that before I get off into a tangent here. So for world and setting, the world is believable in this story. The world is believable and realistic. There's a lot of historical basis for the world, and the magic system fits in really, really well. Society and the politics of society are really well portrayed and are actually pretty appealing. They're very tied into the plot. One thing we'll say is all of the elements from characters and themes and world and setting, all these elements of stories tie directly into the plot, and I think that's part of why it's so driven throughout the story, especially at the latter half. Okay, so general thoughts here. Not being able to emotionally connect with the main character did lower the book a lot in my estimation. The first half of the book, I struggled to pick it up and continue reading. I wasn't drawn in. They were establishing a lot of things plot-wise, and while the plot was moving along, we were reaching the small goals set in the plot, which is great. I hadn't seen the big goal. It took a while for us to see the big, great, grand scheme goal. And once we saw that, once we knew what we were working towards more, it was more satisfying for sure. But the first half of the book was a little bit difficult for me to pick up and keep reading. So when I really started following the story and was really drawn into it was when the themes became apparent, and specifically the main theme. Very close to the end of the book, it suddenly became very clear what the author was trying to portray and what the author was trying to show, and she'd done it so well, subtly throughout the beginning of the book and on. And it was really cool to see that come into fruition and manifest much more in the story the further along in the book we got. So I think that was what really redeemed the story, in my opinion. The thing is about this book is it was well done. There was nothing wrong with it. It was all just my personal take on it. That's why I've got some mixed ratings here. My characters are low, my overall enjoyment's low. Plot and themes and world and setting are the full stars because it worked. It just didn't work for me. And then a little bit of thought on Nadine Brandes' writing style. She has some lines that are killer. Like, you take it out of context and it's such a fantastic line, and I love finding those in stories, being able to store them for later and whatnot. But she does use some punctuational choices, which the really cool thing about authors and creative fiction is that you have that creative liberty to do things maybe not by the book, if you will. You have the creative liberty to change up punctuation and do things a little bit unorthodox with that. And she used that creative liberty, and it actually drew me out of the story That is another personal opinion. I'm a little more in tune to things and nitpicky. While I'm not good at punctuation, I do see dramatic punctuation in other people's writing, and it can draw me out of the story. So that was something I noticed about her writing style. I also really like her descriptions. I think it was really well portrayed. The way she described the magic system and how it worked and how it was used was very well done. So I've been a little more subtle this time with my rating. So my current rating is 3.75 stars. So what lowered the book was my general opinion and then characters, because the characters didn't really settle with me. The main character. One of the side characters, I did really enjoy following her part of the story, and she was intriguing. She was a little bit of a, I've seen the type of character before, but she was portrayed in a really good way, and she didn't, while she may have had certain characteristics that we often see in a character trope, she wasn't a trope in herself. So yeah, it was, overall, I did enjoy Fawkes. Would I pick it up again? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would reread it. It was a little bit of a beast. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe I've just read a lot of really tiny books lately, but I thought it was going to be smaller and shorter, and it actually took me a long time to get through it. And it didn't help at the beginning. I was just waiting for something to happen for a while there because I wasn't invested in the character. But yeah, I have heard a lot of really, really fantastic reviews about Fawkes, and the theme was incredible, and I loved it to death. So I really enjoyed it, and I don't regret reading it one bit. I don't regret the time I spent reading it at all. But I would love to hear some other people's thoughts on the character and how they reacted and responded to that main character, and if they connected with him better, because I do think a lot of this is my personal opinion. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to our channel down below. Thanks for watching. Stay warm.